Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I wanted to talk about INFJ depth and this very core feature of the INFJ personality, which is how deep we are. We tend to see 10 layers deeper into reality in a way that other people don't. We see things like the energy behind words and the intention behind behavior. We see the core roots of stuff. Oftentimes, this can leave us feeling kind of strange in this world. Most people tend to take things at face value. And INFJs are the type of people who read into virtually everything, all of their experiences, and can cause us to overthink a lot. So I wanted to dissect this core feature of our personality trait and just talk about my experience as well as an INFJ, walking through this world in a very deep way. So I find that our depths are something that is very isolating to the INFJ personality. Introverted intuition is a strange cognitive function, and we see patterns very naturally, are always asking the why questions in life and wanting to understand why it is we behave certain ways. I personally see 3 core layers to our depths. I think one is depth of insight. Like, it's very natural for us to dig into our experiences and try to extract the wisdom from them. I think if we don't do that, we end up being kind of malnourished when it comes to how we feel about like the meaning behind our lives. And then I also think that there's emotional depth. I think we're very deeply empathic and we feel things very deeply. But I think we're also more private about that side of ourselves. I personally tend to process my emotions by myself first before expressing them to other people. I think I'm very shy about revealing those things. Even with music, sometimes I have a hard time sharing it because it's just so close to my soul. So it takes a lot for me to show more intense emotions to somebody. I also think that there's intellectual depth, and we need to have very, I think, open-minded types of people who we can have deeper level philosophical conversations with. I think we tend to be more existentially smart. It's really important that we have each of these 3 layers, some format of our relationships, to be able to share our depths to some capacity. So my personal experience with my depths has been a real challenge. I think it's gotten a lot easier as I've grown older and I've learned how to manage it better. When I was growing up, I often felt like a very saturated person. I felt a lot like oversteeped tea in a way, because I was always absorbing people's emotions around me, their thoughts. I would think a lot and like contemplate in terms of like thinking about things like love and these very deep existential types of questions. So I had a lot of thoughts buried inside of me and I would steep on them for long periods of times. And I think because of that, I ended up coming across as maybe too strong and intense around certain people. I think when you are just kind of saturated and very sensitive as well, the way that you come across to other people can be a little too deep for what they're comfortable with. It took a long time for me to cultivate exercises that allow me to express my depths in a way that was not weird to strangers. There was definitely a learning curve coming into this life. I think, especially for our INFJs, because I think we also age in reverse in a way. Like, we start out very intensely pondering about the nature of existence, and we chew on things, and we're very existential. And as we grow older, I think we get more lighter in terms of like our thought life. I personally feel like I've chewed on this type of stuff for up to my satisfaction. Like, I don't really need to do it anymore, because I've just cultivated a strong understanding up to the limits of my understanding of what I want to about life in general. As I've gotten older, I can lighten up more and have like kind of conversations that aren't always very deep and intense. I think personality typing is incredibly beneficial for trying to find like-minded people and who you will be the most compatible with in terms of having a satisfying relationship. I'm just very grateful for this tool because I had a memory come up this week where I remember when I was right out of college, I was having a lot of these kind of brooding, dark and deep thoughts about my life and what kind of job I ended up in and all of this stuff. I think especially when you're coming out of college, you tend to think about stuff like that more because you just spent all this time on a degree and you don't know if it's really right for you for the rest of your life. Anyway, I remember I was just really brewing at that time and just oversteeping in my thoughts. I was a part of this social group, which was like a group of very normal young people. It was like coworkers and their friends, and we were all in the same age range. I remember I tried opening up to one of the girls in the group who I had known for a couple of years at that point about these deeper level thoughts that I was having. I remember, I think we were just driving back from a social event that we were at. I opened up to her about this job that I was having questions about. I was like, I don't know if I'm really cut out for this or if I really like it. I remember things got really awkward between us all of a sudden. She just didn't really know what to do with that type of burdensome thought of like an existential question. And yeah, she just dropped the subject and then we moved on to something else. And I was just kind of sitting there feeling awkward about opening up to her in a more deep way. Anyway, we learned later in that group, because we all took the Myers-Briggs test, that she was actually an ESFP. It made sense for her. She was like the life of the party and always going out and starting the social events and stuff like that. She was very bubbly and very charismatic as well. It just made so much sense. I'm an INFJ. And so I tend to be a little more introspective and reflective. I have a really hard time at big gatherings like that. It was interesting that when we took this test, it just gave me so much clarity about why we were having all these kind of small tensions, I think, in our relationship as well. We just were very opposite to each other. I think it's especially hard if you are an INFJ and you're supposed to be supposedly partying and stuff like that and are around extroverts of that nature, trying to fit in, because I think you'll probably feel very different from everybody else. It's good to know that about yourself, because I realized later that this girl, I really looked up to her in terms of her sociability. Like, she was incredibly charismatic, but I realized later that she really struggled with deep talk, which is also a social skill. So I think INFJs just have to get comfortable with that aspect of themselves. Know like your social skills and like what you're good at, which we tend to be really good at things like deep talk, getting into the roots and complexity of your behavior, and just being counselors about it as well. We really thrive in environments that require us to be that way. So I would say don't give up trying to find like-minded connections. I personally have had to get myself out there more, I think, to find them. Sometimes it does, unfortunately, require more socializing on the INFJ side. If you are somebody who feels very rare, you have to put yourself out there just to try to find more like-minded people. I think when it comes to like connecting socially with your depths, oftentimes things like book clubs or any type of like deeper level activity, hiking with people sometimes where you can have deep conversations, can be really good. I say that, but I think also solitude is great. I've had so many long eras where my best friend was my journal or my books, because I really connected with the authors of the time. I think it's good to have connection with yourself first, and then also people across time who wrote books who you might resonate with. So that's been another way during my very lonely eras, which I've had them, that you can connect with people. Anyway, I have a lot of thoughts on depth, and it's kind of funny because when I was preparing for this video, I wrote like 6 pages or so, single-spaced, of the things that I wanted to talk about for this topic. It's been hard for me to make videos of this nature just because I am very dense. Like, I have a lot of complex thoughts that I want to share. Part of the reason I like to keep things shorter is for your attention span. I don't want to take up too much time on the internet. Another cool thing about my channel is that you guys tend to share your deep thoughts with me in the comments. So I really like that, and I think you should do more of it. So go ahead and drop in the comments your guys' thoughts on depth and how you've experienced depth, how it comes across socially as well. I will read them. So thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you all next time.